Today we'll be talking about lithium. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with this outstanding run-up that many of these ASX Lithium stocks have had over this past period. Across the sector, many companies are making all-time high after all-time high. Of course, the lithium price continues to push it to new highs as well, as supply can't come online fast enough to meet the raging demand, with the electric vehicle adoption starting to pick up pace. But there's been a range of different companies, whether it's Sayona Mining, Lake Resources, or Core Lithium, that have had some stellar runs. You might be wondering what's been happening to these companies, what have been the drivers, and what have been the new news for each of these stories. Today we're going to do a sector wrap up. We'll look across some of these names, many of these in the ASX Lithium development space. We'll unpack not only their stories, but also how they're currently positioned. I think it's going to be quite an interesting thread as well that you'll see across many of these names. We've just had the ASX index rebalances, and the majority of these names here have actually all recently featured with inclusions into the ASX 300 or into the 200. And of course, as that comes into play, as funds have their mandates that may provide them with access or the opportunity to get exposure to these companies, as other funds as well as ETFs have to add these companies in. Of course, that buying demand can lead to some increased excitement and put buying upwards pressure onto the share price as well. As we dive into it, I'm keen to know your thoughts. Drop in a comment below. Let us know which lithium companies you've got on your watch list as we continue on into 2022. So the lithium prices. This is a chart that we often look at in all of these videos as we take that bit of a context and try to understand where we're positioned. By now, we've well and truly blown out the lights of that high that we made at the back end of 17. And I'm sure that many of you remember before that period of bust for the lithium prices. And now, of course, since we got that price signal at the back end of 2020, we've continued to go from strength to strength. Demand is strong. We know that supply is trying to come online. Many of these companies we discussed today are in the development stage, but this is still in the early stages. They're not into production yet. As companies scramble to get online, the demand is not slowing down, and this is continuing to put upwards pressure on the lithium prices. And so with that, the first company on the list today, it's Core Lithium. ASX CXO, as you can see on the price here on the right, the charts continue to push higher and higher. It's reached above $2 billion market cap today. It wasn't long ago that I feel like we were discussing Core at the $1 billion market cap level. It really has gone from strength to strength. The charts look very, very strong. There's upwards momentum. And of course, Core is actually a near-term producer too. They're into construction, production at the back end of this year, hopefully in Q4 2022. So there's a lot of excitement as Core look to join the ranks of course, some of these other producers around the ASX. But what's interesting about the CXO story is just recently, there was announced actually that their CEO and Managing Director, Stephen Biggins, who's been with the company for over a decade, will be leaving for personal reasons. Of course, it's a big congratulations to Stephen for all that he achieved over this past period, as well as to the broader team. And now it's going to be interesting as Core move from that exploration into development stage and now into production as they look for a new CEO to be able to bring them into this next exciting stage. To recap a bit of the other news as well, recently with Core, offtake deal signed with Tesla. You can't get much bigger to that, but it really does add on to the other offtakes that they have as well with Yahua as well as Ganfeng Lithium. We know that stage one, bringing online finished production, but then looking forward as well, looking to eventually bring on some downstream capacity, which many of these current companies in the lithium space are looking to do. As well as this, Core continue on with further exploration, awaiting some results, and investors are excited to see what happens with ASX CXO on the pathway to production for this year. And then stock number 2, Sayona Mining. It's ASX SYA. Like Core Lithium, like some of the other companies that we discussed today, Sayona was included into the ASX 300, pushed into all-time highs as well. Sayona was actually trading sideways for quite a while at the back end of last year. We know that in the first half of last year, there was a huge amount of news. Sayona was trading sideways, and now it's just broke out into new highs once again. On that recent news, we know that there was a JORC upgrade, 119 million tonnes at 1.05% for measured, inferred, and indicated. The majority of this is actually measured and indicated, which of course is quite significant. And it's going to be interesting as they have a further drilling program underway at Moblam. We know that with the resource upgrade now, there's going to be a combined and consolidated DFS flowing through with both their NAL and OTR as they look to bring NAL online in 2023, so nearest term producer as well. And of course, a lot of the excitement was catalysed by the ASX 300 for Sayona. It is worth noting as well, as we go through a range of these different companies today, I'm obviously not a financial advisor and nothing we discuss is financial advice. The stocks we cover, they're not buy recommendations. However, hopefully it is an interesting starting spot for you to be able to go away and really do your own research from. And then stock number 3, it's Liontown Resources. ASX LTR has a top tier resource. It is a globally significant tier 1 resource. They're now $4 billion plus in the development stage, which really speaks to the Kathleen Valley opportunity, as well as also Baldania, which we'll talk about. Recently, Liontown, similar to Core Lithium, signed a binding supply agreement with Tesla, starting at 100,000 dry metric tons, scaling up to 150,000 DMT of spodumene, which of course, that's quite significant. Tesla are obviously looking to lock in their supply early and finding some real value in these Australian developers. Liontown now have both agreements with LG Energy Solutions as well as Tesla, but still do have offtake available. It's not 100% committed, which provides them with optionality. And just recently, some of the most recent news for ASX LTR was drilling results at Baldania that excited investors. I think that it's quite fascinating that, of course, a lot of attention for Liontown goes on to the Kathleen Valley opportunity, which is fair enough. It is a fantastic opportunity, of course. But Baldania in its own right is quite a significant resource. It's going to definitely attract a lot of attention and provides them with optionality too moving forward. So it's going to be fascinating to see where Liontown head from here. Stock number 4, Lake Resources. ASX LKE, similar to Core Lithium, has just passed through that $2 billion market cap level. Lake Resources has had significant momentum, and over this past month, if you look at the chart at the back end of the period in March, probably has had one of the strongest momentums that we've seen in this development stage of the ASX Lithium Stocks. Range of different pieces of news that have come out over this past quarter or half year. First and foremost, the target 100 was established, 100,000 tonne per annum by 2030. That's globally significant. That'll put them in the top 5 production level. It's going to be a massive one. And of course, they've got 4 different projects that they can look to bring online. They recently uplifted the base case for their flagship Kachi lithium project from 25,000 TPA to 50,000 tonne per annum. And that DFS is going to be due over this upcoming quarter now too. Along with that, they're waiting for their final SYA, their environmental and social impact approvals too, due first half before the final investment decision obviously will flow through from that, pending success. And what's interesting about Lake is they have uncommitted offtake. They haven't signed those deals yet. They're looking for a rising and falling pricing mechanism. And it's going to be fascinating because they are looking to get an offtake done in and around this DFS period. So of course, investors will wait to see the excitement that potentially could bring out. Worth noting that Lake as well secured some further funding, a $39 million at the market raise, options expiry 2 in June, which will bring some more cash into the kitty. And then ultimately, Lake is also looking at a debt funding agreement where they've got some indicative support as well from some large agencies too. And then stock number 5, it's AVZ Minerals. ASX AVZ, another one, significant uplift in terms of their share price. Another one that's in the development stage, pre-production. It's very nearing the $4 billion market cap level as well, similar to Liontown with their Kathleen Valley resource. AVZ Minerals have their Monono lithium and tin project in the DRC. It is a massive resource. If you haven't seen some of the numbers, the scale of it is absolutely incredible, high grade as well. And so it's worth having a look at the resource just to conceptualize what a world-class top-tier resource actually has in store for them. AVZ have quite a clear catalyst up ahead in terms of they're awaiting news for that mining license. Of course, they're continuing ongoing discussions with the DRC government, and they're hoping that they're towards the final stages of that. That's quite a clear catalyst in the horizon, but they were recently included into both the ASX 200 and the 300. It's not often that you get inclusion into both of these. Often it's quite a staggered process as you get into the 300, then scale maybe the next rebalance or the next ones after that. But it speaks to the significant uplift that AVZ have had over this past period to be included into that benchmark index as well. We know over the past period there was an expedited completion of the investment with Kath. Of course, that is quite a significant one. But what was noticeable about that was there were condition precedents attached to that were waived, which will enable this JV. So of course there is some conviction and some belief from the Kath team that there is going to be the conditions met in this upcoming period. So it's going to be fascinating to see what lays up ahead for ASX AVZ. And so it's been a big past period for the ASX lithium sector. As we did go through this video, if you did enjoy it, don't forget to hit the like button. If you're new here, make sure you've subscribed, turn your bell notifications on. Daily video each and every day, so you won't miss any of those. We'd love to have you join the community. The ASX lithium stocks have been running hot. There's been a lot of excitement. The commodity sector, along with the energy sector over this past period, has continued to push higher and higher. We know there's a lot of excitement and discussion about a potential commodity supercycle. We know that demand as well for lithium as a resource is going to continue to grow along with the EV adoption around the world. And it looks like that many of these players in the space could be in the right place at the right time. Of course, we know that they're still early stage. A lot of these companies we've talked about before, they're not into production yet. They're still pre-production in that development stage. So there are inherent risks that go along with that. But as they move towards construction through to production on the back of these final investment decisions that many of them are nearing, there's going to be a lot of attention paid to these companies. So it's going to be fascinating to see how they evolve. Love to know your thoughts. Drop in a comment below what you think about many of these companies and what you have on your watch list. We'll leave links up above as well to some of the other videos covering the lithium companies in the space. Thank you for joining us. For now, stay well and happy investing.